This is the Troll Patrol. Live. With Justin Freakin.
Welcome to the Troll Patrol Live. It's a freaking Sunday. It's a Sunday, right? I don't know. I don't feel... There we go. I feel more centered now. There. That's right. Tadpole. Princess Kimberly. Warlord. Anonymously. Good evening. Welcome in. It's a freaking Sunday. I said that. Anybody that was wondering where I was at on Wednesday and Thursday that aren't on Twitch, because I was on Twitch, my apologies for doing no show. Yes, we got Canadian election hype for tomorrow. I'm going to be doing coverage. Not as in-depth as, United States elections, but we'll cover it tomorrow night. We'll do the returns. Ckers asked me to help remove some stuff on Wednesday. I did it. We didn't really get back in time to do the show, so I just popped on Twitch and hung out with people. And Thursday night, she said she felt bad because I told her I wanted dinner in exchange for helping her, and she took me to Burger King. She said she felt bad. She wanted to take me to real dinner, so she asked me if I wanted tacos. So I was like, fuck yeah, I want tacos. So I went and got tacos. I was also having some tech issues, which is why we thought we were doing a freak show on Friday night. But I couldn't have the media winch on. Well, the media winch came on and did music requests with me on Twitch. But we couldn't get my freak show stuff working, so I'll figure that out sometime this week. I'm not high enough for this shit. I need to grind more weed up, it looks like. Then at like 1 o'clock in the morning last night, it's like, am I tripping or are my neighbors moving at 1 o'clock in the morning? And the answer was both. I was tripping and my neighbors were apparently moving at 1 o'clock in the morning. I kept looking out the window like, what the fuck is going on out there? Because I'm just sitting here, all of a sudden, thump, thump, thump. And I'm like, am I imagining that? Because I am. I was tripping. We got a lot of news to cover. Bill Maher got really upset over Al Gore comparing the Trump administration to Nazis, which is a weird thing to say on a day that we found out the Trump administration arrested a judge. We're now up to three citizens. 3 United States citizens have been deported by the Trump administration. Now they're saying, they're spinning it. I'm gonna show you Marco Rubio. They're spinning it. They're like, oh, well, they went with their parents. That's a problem, though. You deported U.S. citizens because they're wanting to end birthright citizenship, right? What they call anchor babies, children that have been born in the country, so therefore have citizenship. Those are the 3 children born in the country that have citizenship that have been deported. So they're arresting judges. Because we got 2. We got not 1, but 2. And the right wing's going to tell you the one was harboring a gang member. That's not true at all. They're also sharing out a picture of the funeral for the Pope, or whatever they call it. I don't know if it's a funeral, whatever ceremony that was held. They're sharing out a picture of it that has been altered to make it look like multiple people are wearing blue suits and not just Donald Trump. It's insane. Here's your meme of the day. When Kanye's family, when he shows up for Thanksgiving, let's not start sucking each other's dicks quite yet. Classic scene from Pulp Fiction where they call in the wolf. George Santos asking the court for leniency after being sentenced to several years. I can't talk today. Several years in jail. I think it was 7. I think it was 7 he was sentenced to. I don't remember the exact number because, once again, I'm not a pre-watch handy, and I haven't done the news since Tuesday of last week. I don't really know what's going on. We're going to find out together. There was apparently a terrorist attack at a Filipino parade in Vancouver. 11 people dead. We got wild video of an explosion at an Iranian port. Do you guys know about the measles? Do you know how bad the measles are spreading right now? People are talking endemic, if not pandemic, levels of measles cases. Speaking of the Pope and Donald Trump met with President Zelensky at the Pope's funeral. We're going to catch you up on what's going to go on with the Canadian election tomorrow. Trump keeps saying he has spoke with President Xi Jinping of China about a trade deal. China says that phone call never happened. Trump's approval rating dropping to the lowest of any president in the last 80 years. And there's a huge Gen Z divide when it comes to the polling on Trump. Bernie goes on with Meet the Press this morning and says that Democrats have a lack of vision. I don't know what he's talking about, because we're going to check in with the House Minority Leader and the Senate Minority Leader as they conduct their sit-in on the steps of Congress. Pete Hegseth apparently had an unsecure line in his office specifically for Signal. The Trump administration doxed the family of Abrego Garcia, the man wrongly deported to El Salvador. Did you know that kids are being summoned to court appearing without lawyers or any kind of judicial advocate for deportation hearings? We have new video of the shooting of the bassist, of the wife of the bassist for Weezer in that wild fucking police chase / ordeal that went on about 2 weeks ago. And police, are they looking for him? I think they're still looking for the man. He is wanted for filling Easter eggs with marijuana and hiding them throughout the city and posting instructions on how to do the scavenger hunt. All that and a lot freaking more tonight on the Troll Patrol, live, holiday, clinically. Socialist Aunt, welcome in. So glad to see everybody. What was happening 80 years ago? Have no idea what was happening 80 years ago. I wish I'd found one of those Easter eggs out in the city. Light one up, tip one back. Why did I do that? It wasn't hitting well last night, so I cleaned it. And then I just did that shit to myself. I was like, oh, it's still not hitting well. No, it's hitting pretty well. Also, if there's any chuds that would like to call in, 917-830-4359, you can hop in the Discord. Just let me know you're there. I've been arguing with a lot of people on the Twitter, on the Facebook. I really need to stop arguing with people on the Facebook. Law dog. Always clean your bong, people. If you have stale water in there, you can get you Legionnaire's disease, and you don't want that shit. Josephus, you're always super mad. You're always coming in hot. Is this Vancouver, Washington? Is this Vancouver, Canada? Vancouver, Canada. 11 people killed as a vehicle plowed into a Filipino street festival last night.
A street festival in Vancouver turned deadly last night when police say a suspect drove an SUV through the crowd of people. Vancouver police confirmed today that 11 people were killed with a dozen more injured. A lone suspect is now in custody, but authorities have not yet identified him pending charges. We want to warn you, some of these images may be difficult to see. Here's ABC News' Melissa Adon.
A horrific scene in Vancouver, British Columbia. Emergency responders rushing to a street festival where police say a driver plowed his SUV into the crowd.
This is the darkest day in our city's history.
It happened just after 8 p.m. local time Saturday as the festival was wrapping up. Hundreds of Filipinos were celebrating Lapu-Lapu Day, a holiday that honors their heritage.
The actions of
So police are apparently ruling out terror as a motivation.
Single person shattered our collective sense of safety.
Debris and bodies were seen on the road where food trucks were lined up. Witnesses shaken after seeing many victims lying on the ground.
There's a car that went just through the whole street.
Yeah, DJ Dub. Yep.
Everyone.
We saw people on the road crying. Others were like running, shouting, or even screaming, asking for help.
Police arresting
Markov, you might be on to something there, and also welcome in, my friend.
Vancouver. He has not been identified and he has not yet been charged.
The evidence in this case does not lead us to believe this was an act of terrorism. The person we have in custody does have a significant history of interactions with police and healthcare professionals related to mental health.
Investigators seen examining this SUV, its front end smashed. Canada's Prime Minister thanking emergency workers for their quick responses and offering a message to the victims and their families.
Last night, families lost a sister, a brother, a mother, a father, a son, or a daughter. Those families are living every family's nightmare. I would like to offer my deepest condolences and my wishes for strength and compassion in this tragic time.
Police have not released the victims' names or ages, but say they include young people. Melissa Adon, ABC News, Los Angeles.
They include young people. Josephus, what the fuck are you whining about, my chat? Bro, get a grip on yourself. Jesus. An explosion happened at a port in Iran. We've got some wild video.
More videos coming in of a massive explosion and fire at a port in Iran. 40 people now confirmed dead after the blast yesterday and more than 700 others hurt. Crews worked through the night.
40 people confirmed dead.
Battle the flames. Planes flew over the scene to dump water from the air. A security firm says the explosion was caused by a chemical used to make fuel for ballistic missiles.
So this was an accident and not a act of terror on behalf of Israel, the United States. I'll withhold judgment on that one. Let's bring it back here to the U.S. for a second. We got some wild shit going on here. Not a lot of people are talking about it, but the measles are fucking running wild.
Nearly 900 confirmed measles cases have been reported in the U.S. so far this year, according to the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. That's more than 3 times higher than all of the cases reported in 2024.
Measles is one of the most contagious diseases in the world.
Yay!
At least 3 people have died from the disease this year. And while the vast majority of cases have been linked to an outbreak centered in Texas, 29 states have reported at least 1 case.
Any child who dies from a vaccine-preventable disease is a tragedy.
Medical experts say the best way to protect yourself is to get the MMR vaccine. The first dose is generally given to children ages 12 to 15 months and is 93% effective against measles. The second dose is given to kids between 4 and 6 years old, is 97% effective. But routine childhood vaccination rates have been declining. And if that trend continues, measles could become endemic in the U.S., according to a new study.
This is why it takes herd immunity. It takes up to 95% of people in a particular region having immunity to measles in order to prevent it from spreading.
This study found that if MMR vaccine rates drop by 10%, we could see more than 11 million cases by 2050. But if the MMR vaccine rate increases by just 5%, cases would be around 5,800 by 2050. That's why medical experts are urging people to get the vaccine. I'm Jen Sullivan reporting.
This is worrying. Also, I checked in on the bird flu. Bird flu also running wild. It's just a matter of time before we have human-to-human transmission. But yay. Trump yet again posting on social media about how Vladimir Putin apparently doesn't want peace. Met with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky during the Pope's funeral.
You're looking here at images of an event we didn't know was going to happen, a meeting between US President Donald Trump, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, a meeting on the margins of Pope Francis' funeral. They're sitting inside the Vatican, inside St. Peter's Basilica, and joining them there's Emmanuel Macron, the French president, Keir Starmer, the British Prime Minister. Ukrainian officials say the meeting with President Trump was very productive, lasted about 15 minutes, but in one of the images there, Emmanuel Macron has his hand on Volodymyr Zelensky's shoulders. Very powerful image, remembering that just a few months ago, back in February, the last time President Zelensky met President Trump, it was a tempestuous meeting. The US president pressuring to accept peace on terms he didn't want to accept, telling him that he wasn't appreciative enough of the US support. A tempestuous meeting. Zelensky now having the backing of the French president.
He likes that word, tempestuous.
In those talks, and the symbolism writ larger than even just being in the Vatican. While Pope Francis' funeral is being prepared, a pope who wanted peace in Ukraine, who was all about peace in his life, that this meeting should take place, so symbolic. Nick Robertson, CNN, London.
Fuck the motherfucking Pope. There's that images circulating on social media showing multiple people wearing blue suits, not just Trump, but it was apparently just Trump. They, much like a good cop. I don't give a shit what somebody wears to a funeral, but like the fact that they're having to alter pictures to be like, oh no, Trump wasn't the only one that wore a blue suit is insane. This is what the funeral ceremony looked like on Saturday.
In a service grand and surprisingly personal, today the world said goodbye to Pope Francis. A simple wooden coffin for the man who wanted to...
Why are you crying?
...pastor. 250,000 people jammed St. Peter's Square and its surrounding streets. Most never met him, including Father Jim Loughran, one of hundreds of priests celebrating the funeral mass.
Francis was an example to me of gentleness, kindness, invitation, hospitality. He was an example to me of a good shepherd.
The powerful were there too. President Donald Trump, former President Joe Biden, Prince William. The only world leader to get applause, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky.
Una chiesa.
In an unusually personal homily, the Dean of the College of Cardinals, Giovanni Battista Re, praised Francis' vision that the church should be a home for all, reaching out to those society shunned.
Have you guys seen the dude that is apparently top of the list of the running, at least the conservative side of the church wants to go with? It's a black dude from Africa, and they're gonna push him and say that you're racist if you don't want him, but he is a fucking, I don't know how to describe it. He wants to roll back all the advances of the churches, or the church. What little advancement there has been. Wants to take the church back to like fucking the 1500s. Yeah, sure, warlord.
Including refugees. Mere feet from President Trump, Battista Re quoted Francis' plea to build bridges, not walls. Messages that resonate with Luke Parlow and Brett Rotz, studying to be priests in Rome. Luke distributed communion at the Mass.
Pope Francis' message of being able to say, I know you're trying. God is a God of mercy. So if you fall, I can help you. The church helps you.
Brett remembered the Pope's advice on living in Rome.
He told us that Rome is like a really good bottle of whiskey. You should enjoy it, but not to have too much.
It was through Rome Francis traveled one last time in his electric Pope-mobile, a procession of faith cheered by 150,000 people to his beloved Basilica Santa Maria Maggiore, where he was laid to rest.
Questa preghiera de voi su di me.
12 years ago, Pope Francis asked the world to pray for him. Today, the world asked him to pray for them.
And Ann Thompson joins us from Rome. And how
Cardinal Robert Serra
begin visiting the Pope's tomb
of Guinea.
Jose, starting tomorrow, people will be able to pay their respects at the
ally of
Pope Francis. And
Benedictus.
later in the afternoon, the cardinals are going to gather at the site to pray a rosary. Jose?
As the hearse came into view, seminary student Rodrigo Herrera teared up.
I just saw him last week giving his last effort, his last bull, just giving it all for the church. And now
I'm not high enough for this stupid shit.
As we watched, the crowds calmed, taking it in together. Most silent, holding up their phones, a future record of their presence here too, bearing witness to Francis's final journey.
Feels like a sense of wonder too, right? That we're witnessing this. Yeah, that we're on the world stage, and the sense of awe of someone who had such impact.
But now the church must grapple with its post-Francis future.
Silent, welcome in.
Pretty solemn day for us.
Good evening.
But hopeful as the procession goes by that the next person that takes over, the next pope, will continue some of the same messages.
This group of Catholic students studying abroad in Rome hope the next pope continues to bring in their generation the way Francis did.
Pope Francis was such a good example of being welcoming and really honing in on community in the Catholic Church.
The conclave to choose the next leader of the world's 1.4 billion Catholics may begin as soon as May 6th. But this year's electorate is the biggest, most diverse in history. And for much of the next week, the 135 cardinal electors will get to know each other before they're sealed inside the Sistine Chapel, secretly voting twice a day until one name, one man receives.
When they say get to know each other, do they mean orgies?
Announces a new pope has been chosen. Molly Hunter, NBC News, Rome.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated.
Shut up, Lester.
And top story.
It means orgy. It means orgy. They get to know each other biblically. That means orgy. Good friends up north having an election tomorrow. I'll be here covering it tomorrow night.
The election is Monday, and Canadians are very engaged in this election. A record 7.3 million Canadians voted in advance voting. There's about 41 million people, so that is a record. That is a lot of people. And the ballot question has become Trump. 3-4 months ago, it looks like the Conservatives were going to win the election, and then Trudeau resigned, and then Trump started attacking in Canada on trade, started calling Canada the 51st state. And it has just infuriated Canadians. A sense of pride and nationalism. Canadians are refusing to go down to the United States for travel now. They're refusing to buy American goods. All this patriotism has kind of boosted the Liberal Party fortunes. They have a new leader, and the Conservative leader is seen as somewhat Trumpy. He's not Donald Trump, but in style, there are some similarities. The Conservatives are in trouble. What looked like a shoe-in for the Conservatives 3-4 months ago, it appears, according to polls, that they could lose on Monday and that the Liberals could win big.
Yeah, let's talk about those polls. We got a pollster going on, giving his last-minute assessment of what this race is going to look like.
I mean, Pierre is literally grasping at straws. He's going to bring back plastic straws. Finally.
Plastic straws?
Finally, the kind of boldness that this country needs in times of crisis. We're going to have those straws back, thank God.
But before I get into this, there's an emergency. Do we have a firefighter in the house? Do you see? You have a firefighter? Okay. Mark Carney's pants are...
Well, here's the thing, Markov, is no, the polls were correct in 2016. Telling me the polls mean that, like, no, that's not how polls work, my friend. Just because there was I think it was 6%, 5% chance, whatever it was, that Trump would win, just because that 5 or 6% happened doesn't mean that the polls were wrong. It just means that the 5% chance happened. Flo's gonna show me how polls work.
Fire again today. Can you help?
No, the polls got it completely right in 2016.
Did you hear his latest whopper?
A taste of the tone there in this last week of the election campaign, with frontrunners Mark Carney and Pierre Poilievre taking shots at each other to the delight of their supporters. The NDP, meanwhile, despite the two-horse nature of this race...
That was the joke, Josephus.
...to the finish line. Have a listen.
We got 5 days left. I didn't hear any bell. Did you guys hear a bell? This fight's not over.
Oh, he just quoted South Park.
Every single day. There's 5 days left in this thing. And people need to know who's going to fight for me.
The latest numbers from Nano's research show the Liberals 4 points ahead of the Conservatives, a much narrower lead than this time last week. On the question of preferred prime minister, as you can see, though, the margin continues to grow, with Mark Carney double digits ahead of Pierre Poilievre. So how baked in are these numbers and sentiment on the eve of Election Day? And what are the chances for any surprises? Nick Nanos is the founder and chief data scientist at Nanos Research and CTV's pollster of record. Nick, good to see you for the 300th time during this campaign. You've been amazing.
Yeah.
Let's start off with the top line numbers, because your numbers have definitely borne out the feeling even I have talking to people who, for example, are door knocking for one party or another. And that
Short Daddy.
This race or campaign goes on, it continues to tighten.
Absolutely, Vasi. Actually, what we've been seeing over the last while is basically that tightening. The latest numbers have tightened to 4 percentage points. You know, the thing is that the Liberals at one point had a 10, 11 percentage point lead. And, you know, what we're seeing, even more importantly, Vashi, is that the race is narrowing in the two key battlegrounds: Ontario and British Columbia. British Columbia, as of last night in the CTV News Globe and Mail tracking, is an absolute coin toss, like a dead heat between the Conservatives and the Liberals. And in Ontario, the advantage that the Carney Liberals have had has been diminishing over time, and now it's only about 5 or 6 percentage points.
What do you think?
Only 5 or 6? That's a lot.
Is it that as Trump we became maybe perhaps more used to him and his threats, and they receded in being as direct as they were, save for the past few days? But, you know, there's a period of a few weeks where we were not hearing the 51st state rhetoric ad nauseum, for example. Is it that as that receded, people started thinking about all the things they were worried about and that were largely, you know, to the Liberals' detriment last year?
Yeah, you know, the thing is we have that, and we also have a focus basically on meat and potatoes issues. The other thing, Vashi, that we have to say is that at the beginning of the campaign, a lot of Canadians didn't know about Mark Carney. You know what? It was the promise of Mark Carney and his resume and his experience and stuff like that. And, you know, he's been under relentless scrutiny over the last while and relentless attacks from Pierre Poilievre and the Conservatives. So even though he still leads you know, when it comes to who Canadians would ask, who Canadians would want as Prime Minister. The thing is that, you know, as the greater focus on the Liberals and their plan and stuff like that has come during the course of the campaign, the gap is narrowing between the Liberals and the Conservatives.
And when you look at that all-important seat efficiency, because it's important to remind Canadians, like, the Conservatives actually won the popular vote in the last 2 elections, but the Liberals won minority governments in both of them as well, or were able to form minority governments. Like, when you look at efficiency of the vote, and you mentioned BC and Ontario, like, where are your eyes tomorrow focused?
It's going to be on the 905 belt for sure, in the GTA, and also in the Lower Mainland in Vancouver and Vancouver Island. I think BC is going to be key.
You get some GTA news tomorrow?
And, you know, we're in a world now where probably the Conservatives, if these polling numbers hold up and they're at 39%, the Conservatives will rightly be able to say they've had the best campaign in over a decade. The Conservatives haven't been at that level in more than a decade, and it speaks to kind of why they feel so positive about the campaign. But, you know, the real story is not the Conservative performance.
Well, that's like the MAGAs being all proud of the fact that they won the popular vote for the first time in 20 years. And they didn't even get a majority. They're like, oh, we have a mandate.
It's actually the New Democrats and the Bloc. The fact that the NDP are down, the fact that the Bloc are down, has basically rechanged and changed all the calculus when it comes to seat distribution and what the race means, because 39% doesn't cut it anymore for winning an election, whether it's a minority or a majority government.
Wasn't it 2011 when they had 39%, the Conservatives formed a majority, but the NDP, you can correct me if I'm wrong, we're at 30%?
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, it speaks to the fact that, you know, there's been a lot of criticism of the Conservative campaign. They were at 47, now they're at 39.
You know.
It's not really a collapse and a bad job. Like, we've got to be fair, right?
Yeah.
You know, like, if they've gone from 47 to 39, that's still, you know, not a catastrophe. That's a good showing. It's better than anything that what we've seen in the last 10 years. It's just
Lenny, welcome in.
NDP drop. It's the Bloc drop that has kind of put the Liberals in the driver's seat right now when it comes to popular support.
I've just got 30 seconds, pardon me. 30.
You got 30%.
On the NDP, you know, have you ever seen, you know, for as long as you've been doing this, the degree to which the support has coalesced around two parties who can form government, like the interest in Canadians in who will form government versus just who will represent their views?
Yeah, and you know, the thing is, Vashi, this isn't because the NDP messed up or the Bloc messed up or people don't like their leaders. That has nothing to do with that. It has to do with the fact that we have an external threat. His name is President Donald Trump, and Canadians are looking at the two frontrunners in order to deal and navigate that threat. Those other parties, other than the Liberals and the Conservatives, are just being crushed right now.
I'll leave it on that. Nick, thanks so much. Really appreciate it, as always.
So galvanizing support behind the Liberal leader to combat Trump's threats and trade war that he has started on Canada. Meanwhile, Trump saying that he's making progress in his trade war, saying that he has had productive calls with President Xi Jinping of China. Meanwhile, China's saying he's an idiot. That never happened. We've had no phone calls. Do whatever the fuck you want, man. Like, why are you annoying me tonight? Like, goddamn, let me do the show. Fucking fuck. Like, why you coming in here and just like having a meltdown in my chat, Josephus? Why? Why, my friend? Not got the most patience today. I'll go ahead and tell you that. Not got the most patience today. There's chuds in the chat all the fucking time. It's called the fucking Troll Patrol. Jesus fucking Christ. Who's gonna fucking time you out? What the fuck are you bitching about? My God. Holy shit. You're being extra, my friend. Why? Why be extra? Thank you. I appreciate it. You don't have to ask me. Fucking go at him. I don't give a shit. Not high enough. Spank him, Daddy. Do it.
You live in sexual anarchy?
I don't even know what, like, if you guys ran into him before, I have no idea. Thor Daddy didn't say anything to receive vitriol in my chat that I have noticed. But I'm assuming Flo knows them from another chat or something. I wouldn't expect Flo to just come in here and get all hot on somebody. Thank you. Well, I'm glad you're here for me, my friend. We're going to hand out some titty slaps.
A titty slap!
Come on now.
Like, Joe, what are you talking? Like, I have seen nothing that they have said that would indicate that they are stupider than a cup of shit. So, I think Josephus called them a chud, and they're like, yes. That's all I saw. I don't get it. It's like Josephus known for getting a little hot there. Trump says he is making progress in a trade deal with China. Has had talks with Xi Jinping. However, China says no talks have happened. Samson, welcome in.
And what he said late today about his 145% tariffs on Chinese goods coming into the U.S. And tonight, the president telling Time magazine he would not call President Xi first, but indicated President Xi has reached out to him. And President Trump now claiming to have made 200 trade deals already. But the White House providing no proof. Here's Mary Bruce.
Tonight, President Trump declaring he will not roll.
There are not 200 countries. You couldn't have made 200 trade deals unless he is trying to make deals with individual companies, because that's what we asserted, that he was trying to extort companies, individual companies, in order to bypass his tariffs. So that would indicate that that's what's going on.
Roll back his staggering 145% tariffs on all Chinese products entering the U.S. unless China agrees to substantial concessions.
Well, I'm not going to drop them unless they give us something that's, substantial. Otherwise, I'm not going to drop them.
But it's not clear what concessions would be enough. And at this point, it's also unclear whether the
Lenny throwing out the gift sub. Thank you, my friend.
The president insists they are, telling Time
Light one up for Lenny.
Interview that Chinese President Xi Jinping personally reached out to him. Trump said that after Time asked if he would be willing to make the first call. Will you call President Xi if he doesn't call you? They asked. No, Trump said. You won't? Nope. Time then asking, has he called you yet? Yep, and I don't think that's a sign of weakness on his behalf. This, though China insists, quote, China and the United States have not consulted or negotiated on the tariff issue. The United States should not confuse the public. Today.
Okay, well, that doesn't mean that he's not had a conversation with Xi. That could be China playing with words as well there.
ABC's Rachel Scott asking the president.
You said that you have spoken to President Xi. When did that happen? China says it hasn't happened.
I spoke to him numerous times.
But Trump pressed, when did those calls happen? Were they after Trump put in place his tariffs on China?
Have you spoken?
Were they unrelated to tariffs?
When did you last
I don't want to comment on that, but I've spoken to him.
Because China didn't say they hadn't spoke. China said that they hadn't talked about tariffs.
Anytime.
Trump is eager to prove his trade policies are paying off. He told Time magazine he has already made 200 deals, though he wouldn't say what they were or which countries are involved.
There's like 194 countries.
Announced a single deal yet, and this all comes as the president
196, something like
mark
that.
his first 100 days in office. Our new ABC News Washington Post Ipsos poll showing just 34% approve of his handling of tariffs, with 64% disapproving, and 7 in 10 Americans say Trump's tariffs will drive up inflation. David.
Mary Bruce live at the White House on a Friday night for us. Mary, thank you.
Thank you, Mary. I hope I didn't run you off, Josephus. Just you're a lot right now. No offense, my friend. Trump's polling, especially in light of all these trade issues and all the embarrassments in his administration, dropping like a rock. He's now the least popular president in the last 80 years, beating the record he had set in his first administration.
President Trump will mark the 100th day of his second term in office Tuesday, as new polling shows his approval rating has dropped on several key issues. Fox's Nate Foy has more.
President Donald Trump will mark his 100th day back in office this week, but new polling shows mixed results for his job performance. According to an AP poll, 46% of U.S. adults approve of Trump's approach to immigration, as his handling of the border remains his strongest issue. But a recent Reuters poll finds only 37% of respondents approve of his economic policies, with some saying they fear the possibility of a recession. Trump is in New Jersey Sunday, following his Italy trip.
Would that be Hoover? Hoover would be the least popular in 80 years? Because 80 years ago would have been FD. I don't know. I'm horrible at math.
You take your 33 and a third chance minus my 25% chance, and you got an 8 and a third chance of winning.
Or would that be Truman? Or are they referring to Nixon?
He paid his respects to Pope Francis. On the sidelines of the funeral, Trump and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky spoke for the first time since their Oval Office blowout.
To be less popular than Hoover, that's an accomplishment.
Productive meeting. I don't want to go to a lot of details.
After the meeting, Trump called out Russian President Vladimir Putin, writing in part, quote, "There was no reason for Putin to be shooting missiles into civilian areas, cities, and towns over the last few days. It makes me think that maybe he doesn't want to stop the war. He's just tapping me along." Secretary of State Marco Rubio emphasizes just how critical the upcoming days will be to bring an end to the war.
We have to make a determination about whether this is an endeavor that we want to continue to be involved in, or if it's time to sort of...
No, you're fine, Josephus.
That are equally, if not more important.
President Trump heads back to Washington.
His vacuum sucked.
Going to Michigan on Tuesday to celebrate his 100th day back in office. In Bedminster, New Jersey, Nate Foy, Fox News.
Polling on Trump apparently divided amongst Gen Z, which is what, like, Gen Z showing up to be one of the most conservative generations in a while, which is odd because that bucks the trends that we've seen.
We have brand new poll numbers this morning with some warning signs for President Trump's agenda. Here to break it all down for us is NBC News Chief Data Analyst Steve Kornacki. Steve, it's great to have you here in person. What are you watching in these?
We got the Kornacki.
Some interesting numbers, a little different kind of poll here. This is the NBC Stay Tuned poll, looking deeply at the youngest group of voters, Gen Z voters, but it's such a big pool. We also can show you everybody, all adults. So look at the comparison here, getting a look at this generation. And again, when we say Gen Z, what are we talking? We're talking to people under...
DJ Dub, that's very possible. That's very possible that it's just they're voting against the system. And I mean, that's one of the things that I think brought Trump back into office, because clearly people don't like Trump. They just wanted a change.
30 years old, newest, youngest set of voters. Overall, what you're seeing here is Donald Trump not that popular. You see, overall 45 approve, 55 disapprove, but much less popular. It's basically 2-to-1 disapprove among Gen Z. This is a more anti-Trump, Trump hostile generation than we see in the other generations. This extends to Trump policies, trade, tariffs. Again, overall, not that popular.
We have to pause here, Steve. You can't overstate the significance of this. The economy was really the #1 issue for voters, and one of the main reasons President Trump won the White House.
Exactly. These numbers you see on the economy in his first term look very different than this, and it's not good overall. And again, what you see is much more negative among that youngest.
But I mean, this is when he becomes extremely dangerous, though. As his poll numbers drops and he doesn't feel that the people are behind him, going to resort to more fascistic tactics.
The voters here. How about just optimism about the future? Is it there? Is the country going in the right direction or the wrong direction? Again, overall, this is similar to what we had in our own NBC poll a couple months back. Overall, 40 right track, 60 wrong track. Again, more pessimistic Gen Z. Now, where this gets interesting, though, is I keep saying Gen Z, more Trump hostile, more anti-Trump. Yeah. There's really part of Gen Z that's powering this and part that isn't, and it has to do with gender. We talk about gender. Look at this, Kristen. Among men in Gen Z, 45-55, Trump's approval rating. That's what we saw with everybody. Among women, that's where he falls off the cliff.
And of course, the gender gap was so significant in the 2024 election, continues to be an important factor.
And we looked in 24, a lot of folks thought it might be big.
So I saw somebody posting about, like, we need to deal with the alienation of young men. And I'm like, what the fuck does that even mean? How do I deal with the alienation of young men? These little stupid fucks that basically it's they can't get women. And then it translates to politics somehow. It's really odd. Remember, we watched the with the reporter that went undercover and only dated right-wing men, and when they would talk about, they get into a political group, it was not about politics. They were just bitching about either their significant others or a lack of significant other. So I don't. How am I supposed to do anything to affect change on a level of just young men being losers and not knowing how to get girls? I don't. And is that really the job of someone that's in politics? But I mean, I can understand that it's a problem, but why is it my responsibility to address it? Why is it our politics' responsibility to address it? Isn't it just another symptom of capitalism too? That you get, there's all these young men out there that don't have life skills, that aren't good at being able to talk to other people, let alone women. And then you have the capitalistic incentive that takes advantage of it. People like Andrew Tate, Joe Rogan, scammers all the way down the line that are selling the fucking pickup artists and shit like that. They take advantage of this that is just a symptom of capitalism. So I don't. If you guys have any idea about this, if you guys have thoughts, because I've been racking my brain on this. Because it is a problem and it's reflected in our politics, and it has nothing to do with politics.
24 election continues to be an
Flash
factor.
And
welcome in, Fuzzy Simba. Thank you for the resub.
And it wasn't in the older generations, it was here. And this is what really stands out. It's Gen Z.
What does that mean, reaction to the feminist movement?
Gen Z, much more progressive, much more liberal. We're going to see this on issue after issue than any other group, any generation. So again, looking at Trump's approval rating, this is the percentage of people who approve of his job. And again, look, it's so consistent. Men across these generations, women, it's in the 40s. Look how much that stands out right there. And this extends to some some personality, some issues. Just again, look at this. Do you have a favorable view of the Republican Party? All adults, 44. Gen Z men, it's the same. Look, it falls off a cliff with Gen Z women. Totally different than every other group. Trump's handling of DEI, we asked about. Again, similar, totally different. Gen Z women. Favorable view of Musk. Again, you see it right there. And two more, Kristen. Do you agree there are two genders? Big drop off for Gen Z women. And how about this question? Just about basic attitudes about, are you proud to be an American? Are you only a little or not at all proud? 22% of all adults say that. 22% of Gen Z men, almost double Gen Z women. That is what's powering the liberalism you see among Gen Z.
Fascinating findings, as always. Steve Kornacki, thank you so much.
Shut up, Lester.
Stay updated.
Here's the thing is they find sex work disgusting. They find women disgusting in a lot of ways. So it's not like if we legalize sex work, they're going to go out and, experience pussy and come to a realization that like, I've been shitty to women. That almost plays into their objectification of them even more. Then 40% of them will realize they're gay. This is a complicated issue, and once again, like I don't think it's our job to solve it, but we're seeing the consequences of what's going on. And as I said, like it's just a symptom of the capitalistic incentive that we're seeing, that there's all these grifters out here that are able, young men are fucking stupid and gullible. A lack of education, they have no critical thinking skills, so they fall for grifters. A lack of social skills, they can't get any women, so they're at home listening to grifters. I mean, I'm doing my part. Like, I'm trying to be, badass alpha male over here, telling people it's okay to, respect women. It's not that complicated, man. Women are moving more left, men are moving more right. Like, that's not an accurate picture of what's happening at all. In my generation, in the millennial generation, it's actually much different. And most of the men are moving towards the left just because of the financial. That's the thing, is the Gen Z is not seeing. And I would say a lot of the men that are supporting Trump, they're from affluent families and shit. They're from the middle class white kids that Eminem used to sing to. And they haven't gotten out on their own, You don't get off your health insurance of your parents until you're 26 now. So they haven't had to go out and deal with their own health insurance yet. They haven't gone out and seen that their wages are stagnant for 10 years. They haven't, been living on their own and see their rent go up every 2 or 3 years with no improvements and no improvement in their wages. So once that happens to Gen Z, I absolutely believe they'll go more left-wing. Hands down. Economic issues radicalize people to left-wing thinking. In highly educated circles, no one is moving right. And just the idea that it's a reaction, and it is reactionary. That's exactly reactionary politics. It's a reaction to the feminist movement. That's the pendulum swings. But like, think about what you're victim blaming. Women wanted rights. Women wanted to be treated as equal, to be able to, take out a credit card, which they couldn't do until like fucking, 79? They couldn't have their own bank accounts until the 70s. There was no access to no fault divorce. So like, by giving women equal protection under the law and not allowing men to abuse and enslave them, like, men reacted shitty to it, and that's a good argument for you. Like, I don't doubt that there's some truth to it, that we are seeing a reactionary response to the feminist movement. That's not a something to be lauded, right? At least in my opinion. Yep. A woman could not have a credit card or a bank account until 1979. That was a way of keeping them in marriages. '73. I knew it was the 70s. It's something along those lines. Which is absurd. Which is a way to be that's what they mean when they say patriarchal society, right? So men decided that women weren't responsible enough to have credit cards and a bank account. What was the result of that? It kept women in abusive marriages. Representative Hakeem Jeffries, Senator Cory Booker wanted to do their performative bullshit out on the steps of the Capitol today.
As President Trump's 100th day in office approaches this week, a new poll from CBS News and YouGov finds his approval rating stands at 45%. That's down from 53% back in February. The majority of voters polled say the administration is focused too much on tariffs and not enough on lowering prices. The poll also found 53% of those surveyed believed the economy is getting worse. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries and Senator Cory Booker held a sit-in protest on the steps of the Capitol today.
It's getting much worse. It's gotten much worse like the last 2 months.
With the sit-in starting at 6 a.m.
And usually I would say, presidents don't have that much of an effect on the economy. The policies that they put in place don't really, see the light of day or the residual effects of it for 2-3 years. That's not the case here. Donald Trump has came in and made bold moves, and this is his economy right now. Like I am not giving him any leeway that I would have gave Biden or even Trump in the first term.
Jeffries and Booker voiced their opposition to the Republican budget plan, which includes potential cuts to Medicaid and Medicare. Congress returns from a 2-week recess tomorrow, and Republicans plan to move the resolution forward through the budget reconciliation process, which allows them to pass it without any Democratic support.
That bill, we believe, presents one of the greatest moral threats to our
There's a big cross on.
We've seen in terms of what it will do to providing food for the hungry, care for the elderly, services for the disabled, health care.
This latest protest comes after Booker delivered
I hate these two.
25-hour speech from the Senate floor earlier this month, protesting the Trump administration's policies. And stay with CBS News New York for continuing coverage. We will have much more.
The first 100 days. Performative bullshit on the steps of the Capitol is the reason why Bernie Sanders went on Meet the Press this morning and said the Democrats have no fucking vision, because they don't.
Welcome back. Joining me now is independent senator from Vermont, Bernie Sanders. Senator Sanders, welcome back to Meet the Press.
Great to be with you.
It's great to have you here. Let's start off by talking about Russia and Ukraine. You just heard my conversation with Secretary Rubio. President Trump signaling he could be looking at the possibility of imposing new sanctions against Russia. Do you think that President Trump should impose new sanctions against Russia?
Well, I think what Trump has done over the last number of months has been an absolute disaster and been of real assistance to Putin and his horrible war against the people of Ukraine. When you announce to the world that it was Ukraine that started the war, when you insult Zelensky, who comes into the Oval Office, what you are telling Putin is, hey, we are on your side. For the first time in the 250-year history of the United States of America, we have a president who sides with a dictatorship, and that is outrageous. So I hope very much that in the coming weeks and months, we can reach some kind of a settlement, that Ukraine, of course, who have suffered so much in fighting Russia and defending democracy, is at the table. You cannot make a decision without the Ukrainian people abiding by that and being part of that process.
Okay, just to be very clear, though, do you think now is the time for sanctions, just quickly before we move on to tariffs?
I think we have got to do everything that we can to work with the rest of the world and tell Putin he cannot run over an independent country.
Okay, so not taking sanctions off the table. I do want to talk about tariffs now in the trade war. President Trump says he is taking an aggressive approach on the trade war because he says he wants to bring manufacturing back. He says he wants to bring jobs back for American workers. Senator, do you support temporary economic pain if it does mean bringing back manufacturing and leveling the playing field, as President Trump has argued?
Look, Kristen, you're talking to somebody who helped lead the effort against NAFTA, against PNTR with China. Because I understood back then that these were trade agreements written by corporate America so they could shut down thousands of plants in this country, lay off millions of workers, and move to low-wage countries where people were paid starvation wages. So if your question is, do I believe in selective tariffs, tariffs that make sense to protect American workers? I do. Do I support what Trump did, which is an arbitrary tariff on virtually every country on earth, which will raise prices substantially for ordinary Americans? No, I don't. So if you have selective tariffs, carefully thought out to protect American workers, yes, what Trump has done is, in my view, very, very wrong.
All right, let's talk about what you have called your oligarchy tour. You and Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez have been crisscrossing the country, warning of an emerging oligarchy. Senator, you told the New York Times, I'm going to read this quote, one of the aspects of this tour is to try to rally people to get engaged in the political process and run as independents outside of the Democratic Party. As someone who twice ran in the Democratic presidential primary, are you trying to strengthen the Democratic Party? Or, Senator, are you trying to start a third party?
Now, we're not trying to start a third party. What we're trying to do is strengthen American democracy, where faith in both the Democratic and Republican parties right now is extremely low. We are living, Kristen, in the richest country in the history of the world. And yet you got one person, Mr. Musk, who owns more wealth than the bottom 53% of America.
Ralph Nader is an American fucking hero.
That is oligarchy on steroids. Meanwhile, we have 60% of our workers living paycheck to paycheck. We have the highest rate of childhood poverty of almost any major nation on earth. And we have over 20% of seniors in America living on $15,000 a year or less. What the American people are saying is that they want, and what our tour was about, is to say that they want an economy that works for all of us, not just for Mr. Musk and other billionaires. Now, my concern right now is you have Democrats appropriately, and I'm working with them, talking about Trump's movement toward authoritarianism, vigorously opposing the so-called reconciliation bill to give over $1 trillion in tax breaks to the 1% and make massive cuts to Medicaid, nutrition, and housing, opposing what Musk is doing to dismember the Social Security Administration and the Veterans Administration, making it hard for our veterans to get decent health care or benefits on time. We're on the same page. But what Democrats lack right now is a vision for the future. How are we going to provide a decent standard of living for a younger generation, which, everything being equal, will be poorer than their parents? How do we repair a broken healthcare system? How do we raise the minimum wage to a living wage? How do we deal with a corrupt campaign finance system that allows billionaires to control both political parties? Those are some of the issues that need to be discussed. And we are going out around the country right now asking people, working people, run for office. You want to run as a Democrat? Great. You want to run as an independent? That's great. But you got to get involved in the...
Maybe even a Republican, depending on where you're at.
The two-party system is failing the working class of this country.
Let me ask you about something that your colleague, Senator Alyssa Slotkin, said. She said Democrats should stop using the term oligarchy because it's a phrase that doesn't resonate with all Americans. Are you missing a chance to speak to a wider audience, Senator?
Well, geez, we had 36,000 people out in Los Angeles, 34,000 people in Colorado. We had 30,000 people in Folsom, California, which is kind of a rural area. I think the American people are not quite as dumb as Ms. Lockton thinks they are. I think they understand very well when the top 1% owns more wealth than the bottom 90%. When big money interests are able to control both political parties, they are living in an oligarchy. And these are precisely the issues that have got to be talked about. Are you living in a democracy when Mr. Musk can spend $270 million to elect Trump and then becomes the most important person in government? Or are AIPAC and other super PACs have enormous power over Democratic candidates? Those are issues that we have got to talk about. That is the reality of American society today. The very rich getting richer, working class people are struggling, 800,000 people sleeping out on the streets. If we don't address that issue, the American people will continue to turn their backs on democracy because they're looking around them and they're saying, does anybody understand what I am going through?
Yeah, we cannot undercount like the propaganda spread on Twitter and how that contributed to this last election.
Unfortunately, right now, to a large degree, neither party does.
All right, Senator Bernie Sanders, I have a lot more questions. We are unfortunately out of time. We'll have you back soon. Thank you so much for being here.
He's been on Meet the Press like every week. But you know, some people try to kneecap Bernie, AOC, anybody that tries to stand up to the leadership of the Democratic Party. I don't actually get it. Like, hey, maybe there's some valid criticism. There's plenty of valid criticism of Bernie or AOC, but to kneecap them is to just like cut off our nose to spite our face, right? Like you have to move the Overton window. And if AOC Bernie is a gateway to more radical politics, then you should embrace that. And that's one of the things that I see the left just constantly trying to cannibalize itself. And I don't get it. Do you know why Bernie got boned? Because there wasn't enough of us that helped him. Like I like how do you justify that, right? Like we're fighting a war, a class war against a shit ton of capital. And the only way that we can fight it is through our mass popularization of the movement. There wasn't enough of us to overwhelm the system. Therefore, the DNC was able to bone Bernie. So once again, not fucking, you can't blame the nebulous DNC. You got to blame yourself. I don't believe he turned into a sheepdog. I don't believe that at all. I wholeheartedly believe that in the position that he is in, he felt that he is doing the best thing that he can do. I will blame the users because the way to change the system is by the popular movement. And if you continue to let people fracture the movement, there's no way we can change the system. I keep having this argument with leftists. I had the fucking fallout with the person from the Discourse podcast. Like, what's the solution? The only way to, like, you're wanting to change capitalism. What the practical way to make that happen is through mass movement, mass mobilization. How did I jump into a circular firing squad? That's absurd. Samson, my friend, what the hell? Why would you come at me like this? And I am not in a fucking good mood today. It is not in any way. Like, I have like zero patience and I may fucking snap. I didn't feel like doing this fucking show tonight. So I'm trying to be judicious. Like, coming at me like that, it is our fucking fault. Well, you can't keep blaming the DNC. The DNC is the fucking people. If you either fucking take the party over or start another goddamn party. You've got those options alone. Stop, like, don't blame Democrats because the Democrats are just a fucking group of people. Then you've got to take the party over and write the rules yourself. I am goddamn tired of people just constantly being negative and whining about shit. Well, give me something positive. Tell me how to fucking change the system then. What the fuck are Bernie's actually out here doing something and drawing people. What the fuck is your solution? I would love to hear it. What can we do other than just fucking whine on the internet? Oh my God! Connected, like you're putting the blame on other people. It's not about other people. There's not going to be some fucking hero come and save us. There's not going to be. Bernie Sanders can't bear the fucking burden alone. He's not goddamn Superman. There's no one politician that's going to fix things. It takes all of us doing it from the ground up. God fucking damn it. How do you consider yourself a leftist if that isn't the basis of your worldview? You're in law, fucking run for office. We need you in the city council. We need you in your county mayoralship, your commission. I don't know what to fucking tell you. It sucks. It sucks that it's our fucking responsibility. We're not the ones with power. The people with power are up there fucking sipping champagne and shit. They've got capital behind them. We don't. We're fighting an uphill battle. Stop fucking taking out the knees of anybody who gets any sort of momentum. I just don't fucking get it. But there's only so much any of us can fucking do. But I'm tired of this idea that there's got to be, like, the Democrats need to do this. The Democrats did this. The Democrats are just a group of people. And if you're not sitting at the table, other people are sitting at the table. And if you let capital take over the people at the table, then that's why the fucking Democrats act the way they do. I get upset with leftists because they're like, oh, nobody cares about Gaza. That's because you're not sitting at the table. If everybody that cares about Gaza sits out the election, sits out being part of the Democratic Party, of course the Democrats aren't going to care about Gaza. It doesn't make any goddamn sense to me. I've seen how the fucking MAGA movement, these right-wing goddamn lunatics, the Federalist Society, have taken over the Republican Party. They did it like over the course of 70 fucking years. Extreme nuance? You're not being nuanced at all. The fuck are you coming at me with? Come on. I didn't think Japan allowed people to immigrate. Fire resist. Good evening. I'm tired of this idea of the Democrats did this. It's so annoying. It really is. Because the party, I've had to explain this before. I know senators, governors. I've met 2 presidents. So like it's not this, like, Washington D.C. is not something that's off in the distance. I know these people personally. Like they're humans just like us, and we can change who's in the position to other humans to suit our needs. That's what a democracy is. And because too many people have been cynical and sat out the process, it's something I used to yell at my parents about. Like you don't pay it. They're like, we don't care about politics. If you don't care about politics, then politics will. You may not care about politics, but politics certainly cares about you. Samson, that is a straw man. I never said the leftists lost this election. The fuck does that even mean? I mean, we all lost because Trump fucking won, right? To me, it was preferable to have Kamala Harris in the presidency, but I mean, she shares her part of the blame. The campaign sucked. Yeah, of course the liberals, the people with capital, are going to blame the leftists because that's easier than blaming capitalism. Of course they're going to say that. Like, why are you saying that if that's some sort of revelation? And there's only one way to combat fucking capital. Fucking shit indeed. God damn. Here's fucking Cuomo being a dick and trying to fucking kneecap popular movements.
AOC has done nothing meaningful in Congress. She's done it all on social media. And she's one of your leading names in who's going to be president. Do you not get this concept of 80-20? She's an 80-20 loser all day long.
Wow.
She is clearly catering to a minority. She's her own version of MAGA. She's looking for an outraged enclave. She's not about the majority. She's not about consensus. She's not about solutions. She wants government to give you everything. She's a socialist in a capitalist society. What are you thinking? Don't go to El Salvador to bring back Garcia. He punched his wife in the face, according to her. Why are you making this guy a patron saint?
Oh, man, we should totally not give people due process because there's a story that he punched his wife, even though his wife is begging for his return.
Stick to the principle. What is your principle? AOC has done nothing meaningful in Congress.
She has. But if you want to argue that all she's done is be on social media, all she's done is be their top fundraiser, then sure, go for that. I mean, apparently the whole social media thing is important because we need to not alienate young men. Michael, good evening. You want to watch a police chase? Let's watch a police chase. This happened last night. Mr. Sprong, what's going on? Trump has actually deported less people than Joe Biden did in an average month.
Not a lot of units on the ground right now. There's just that one in the close vicinity. But this guy is moving. He is absolutely moving here on the freeway right now. We're still
clogging him at over 90.
Coming through Sun Valley.
Hit 100 before it slowed down a little bit there, but he's a lot of...
He's taking a lot of
obstructions. Damn, clocking him at 120.
Dangerous it gets. He's been sticking mostly to the HOV and the number 1 and 2 lane unless he hits traffic like this.
Oregon gal, I tell you good evening.
Sometimes
Welcome
he just
in.
gets like that and gets them to get out of the way. But right now he's sitting at about 107 miles an hour, as you can see, flying down the 5. Luckily, the freeways have pretty much dried up from all that rain we had earlier. So traction's shouldn't be too much of an issue. The roads that we're seeing are pretty dry. Man, he's flying.
Booging it.
Just cutting real close to these vehicles.
Damn.
Weaving through the traffic that exists. So we've been on a couple of freeways now. We've been on the 5, we've been on the 210, and then we're back on the 5 now.
One up, tip one back.
5, he hopped on the 210 for a little bit, turned around, came back onto the 5, went north, ended up getting off up in Newhall, and is now southbound on the 5. So per the CHP, LAPD, oh boy, yeah, we're getting close. LAPD started this pursuit, possible DUI driver, and then the CHP took over the pursuit. We've got an unknown number of occupants in this.
It was last night, about this time last night.
And we don't
Silent thought. Welcome in, my friend.
Woman behind the wheel right now. Dark windows, as you can see. We can't see inside very well. They have been blacked out most of the time. We've only seen them turn on their headlights a few times.
I think he said 23 hours ago. Oh, we lost him there for a sec. There we go.
Looks like he's got his headlights on now, so he's turned his headlights on at some point, probably because these side streets are so dark.
So we've gone from the freeway to the
that a little bit close.
residential area. Shit.
Driving real fast through these
Yeah, doing about 50 through this residential area.
neighborhoods.
That's probably a 25, 35 mile an hour
He's
road.
turning west onto Oxnard, I believe that's Oxnard Street.
This is North Hollywood.
West, we're in North Hollywood here with a pursuit of a possible DUI suspect by the CHP.
It was a Saturday night.
About 40 minutes ago in LAPD Foothill, they initiated a stop for what they thought was going to be a DUI suspect. And the person took off, did not stop, ended up getting on the freeway. CHP took over this pursuit. They are still the pursuing agency on this pursuit. So yeah, we're westbound on Oxnard Street right now in North Hollywood. Looks like he's driving in the center lane, running this
Gonna run the red light? Yeah.
Yep, ran that red light. Luckily there was...
He slowed down.
He slowed down.
Make sure nobody was coming.
Again. He is back to being blacked out, driving at excessive speed.
Well, that's gonna
streets.
Throw the helicopter off, right? Oh, that car tried to cut in front of him.
Looks like he's turning in. Oh, he's going to go into the mall. He's going to go into the mall. He's going to go into the parking structure more than likely.
This has worked once.
They like to go into parking structures and bail.
We've seen this work.
There he goes. Oh, man.
At this very mall.
There he is. Oh, he just drove through that.
Yes.
He drove through that arm. Okay, this is a really, really big...
This motherfucker watches the Troll Patrol. He knew what to do.
He's going to go in here. He's going to ditch the vehicle, and he's probably just going to walk away. Whoever it is, it might be a...
We've watched it work like 4 times.
We don't know male or female, but he just drove into this parking...
We've honestly never seen it not work. Every time they've gone into a parking structure, they've gotten away.
Had become with these triple-digit speeds. But, yeah, so right now... Yeah, this is a bummer. The suspect, he drove right in here. There's a marked unit going in there. You can see that right there, that arm on the ground. He ran through that arm and broke it. We're going to monitor
So the 2 ways I've seen people be able to evade the cops is through being on a motorcycle.
For a red Corolla.
Or a dirt bike. That you can get away from the cops like that.
Usually in this situation, what happens is they drive in there, they hop out of the vehicle, and they walk away from it. And it's real tough. If it's
just go blend in the mall.
Know exactly what happened or where they went. We got another marked unit that just went into that parking structure. We're going to stay here and monitor things and see perhaps if we can get an end to this pursuit. But right now, we just can't do anything. We can't see in there. Could be.
Well, we didn't get a lot of good chase action.
You never know.
He caused quite a bit of damage, I would assume.
Well, there's the airship overhead.
If they were chasing him for 40 minutes and he was driving like that.
A description of the suspect, but right now, they haven't given us any description of a suspect. I haven't heard anything on the radios. So LAPD is now asking vehicle inside as they exit. We're being told that they're going to look in trunks. They're going to search every vehicle. So if that suspect is still in here,
they're going to look in trunks.
It's going to be tough for them to get out. So these look like I believe these are LAPD units now.
They had a good 5 minutes. If they know the area especially, they can get in the mall.
Every single. So we have LAPD North Hollywood and Foothill units that are setting up this perimeter and are going to be...
all we know is DUI. Apparently DUI suspect.
We know that it was the original want was a possible DUI, and we terminated here in this parking structure.
So that possible DUI probably means they were swerving.
So we saw them
driving erratically.
We saw them coming dangerously close to to other vehicles, to pedestrians. Just some wild driving. And now we're here, we're waiting. We're gonna see if we can finish this off and if we can bring you an ending to.
They want to bring you to an orgasm.
Hopefully, LAPD is going to be able to get in there and find this person or people, whoever they are.
Why?
We don't have a description on the suspects. We don't have a number of suspects who were in the vehicle. So as you can see, they're blocking off all of these exits. Hey George, can you give me an order?
How are they going to know who it is?
Parking structure, please. So we got all kinds of LAPD, Foothill, and North Hollywood units. And right now we hear they're requesting units near the Nordstrom rack side of the parking garage. So we're going to maneuver there. Let's see.
We're going to maneuver to the Nordstroms.
Is in this shopping center. So we're going to look around for that.
Wait a minute. Is the mall over on this side, or are there shops on top of the? Because there are signage.
I'm being told it's by the
above the ground level. It looked like. This is the mall over here, right?
We got a lot of onlookers here. So yeah, George, see if you can get around the other side of this this parking garage here. George, my pilot, is doing excellent.
Like billboards for what is actually in the mall.
Okay.
Okay.
We have several units right here. All right, George, stop right here for me. Right here. All right, it looks like, I don't know, this is...
I don't think they have anybody in suspect.
Wearing a colorful beanie.
Don't have a suspect in custody.
Scanners right now, asking for more units at the second floor of that parking garage. We got a lot of units here at this little courtyard.
A possible colorful beanie.
It's weird. People are just walking right through all these police officers. Don't.
Well, I mean, it's L.A.
Looks like this parking structure, 1, 2, 3, is probably about 3 different levels.
So there are some shops in the garage.
More units to the second floor parking garage.
There you see the Ulta.
And here we got another exit with multiple units ready to intercept anyone who comes out of here.
Fuck the popo.
All right, George, let's keep orbiting so we can...
I've still got more news. We might get back to the news. We were to the crime section, but it's still one of those, you know, the politics fade slowly into the crime section.
Looks like we got...
That pig's running.
In. Looks like...
A couple of them running.
Okay, sounds like we might be hearing about somebody walking around with no shirt on that might be related.
What? We got two of them running fast.
Especially we got a lot of officers running through here. Not sure what's going on or where this possible person is.
Oh, they probably detained an innocent person.
We're going to try and maneuver ourselves to get around here.
I'm always looking for a happy ending.
We saw several officers running into this parking structure. Let's go back to the other side.
Yeah, go buy your movie ticket. What's playing right now?
Wait to have your cock in my mouth.
Go see
I'm going to give
Chicken
you the
Jockey.
blowjob of your
That
life.
air unit overhead helping
Then
out
I
in this
want you
pursuit.
inside.
Minecraft movie. What? Rip Justin's mic. What are you talking about?
A whole lot of onlookers here. Keep coming around, George.
What's going on? Is it just being laggy or something? Doesn't look like it's on my end.
So it sounds like they found a vehicle inside of there, which makes sense. They knew what vehicle they were looking for. They just have not found.
If you're gonna get your S ready, it's only because I'm gonna
keep coming around for him, George. So
say I'm done with this and get the fuck out of here. $10. Good evening. Holding up by a thread. I don't know what you guys are talking about. Everything looks fine on my end. That's tripping me out here. Hold on. Let's find out what's going on.
At least one officer here. We have a bunch of vehicles here. This one we saw 4 officers running right into this area right here as they were requesting more units on the second floor. Keep coming up on George.
Say I'm done with this and get the fuck out of here. $10. Good evening. Holding up by a thread. I don't know what you guys are talking about. Everything looks. Yeah, it's pretty fun. It could be OBS. So OBS told me it crashed like an hour ago. It could be OBS. OBS told me it crashed like an hour ago, but if you don't hit yes, you can keep streaming.
I'm going to do a little bit of housekeeping here.
That's what I've been doing. That's probably live telling me, like, no, go play some video games and enjoy yourself. We'll be back for the Canadian election tomorrow night. Let's do that.
Okay.
Tell you what, I'll come on early tomorrow night. We're coming on at 7 o'clock.
My scanner's all dialed in here so I can get you guys the latest information. All right, we're going to... Okay. So if you guys are just joining us, George, can you push forward a little bit? If you guys are just joining us, we're sitting here at the tail end of a pursuit that started about an hour ago in LAPD Foothill Division. They tried to pull a vehicle over for suspected DUI. The vehicle fled, did not stop, ended up on the freeway where CHP took over the pursuit. They wound around a couple of freeways. They went up the 5 to the 210, back to the 5 to the 14, came back south onto the 5, ended up getting off of the 5, and making their way here into North Hollywood, where the suspect ended up driving their red Corolla into this parking structure. They drove through the arm at the entrance of the parking structure, broke that arm on their way into here. We've heard that they were running on the second floor.